Hey everyone, it's Paul from This Design That. Today I want to have a discussion about producing work to meet grades or producing work for your portfolio while studying at university. Something that I feel is often overlooked by students is whether or not they are producing work to go in their portfolio or if they're producing work to just simply meet a grade. So as we grow up in traditional school, we're pretty much taught that grades are the be-all and end-all of our study. And when you come to studying design, I personally think that grades don't really matter at all. They don't really mean anything. The most important thing is your portfolio. And when I was studying at uni, I think that some students still had this kind of thought that grades were the most important thing and that they just simply produced their work to meet the criteria in the brief for each project, and getting an A was the most important thing. As long as they got an A, they kind of felt like they were achieving something. Now, this is not to detract away from the fact that getting an A is a very good thing, but I think it shouldn't come at the cost of sacrificing producing work that you want to put in your portfolio. So from personal experience, I pretty much went through the whole of university not really caring about what grade I got. You should obviously be aware that you need to meet a certain grade to continue to the next year, and for me at my university that was to get a D. Now, getting a D is pretty easy to do. As long as you hand in some work at the end of the year for whatever project you're working on, you're pretty much going to get a D or above. You literally have to hand in, a few sheets of paper to get less than a D. So I wasn't really worried about passing. I knew that if I did the work and I handed in something, I would get more than a D. So what I really concentrated on was thinking about what I really want to put in my portfolio and what type of work would I be proud of showing. So if that meant that picking some parts of a project that were more aligned to my future goals, then so be the case. So for instance, if it's a branding project and they wanted you to work, they wanted you to produce a logo and a brand strategy, and I also wanted you to create a website. If I personally saw myself more aligned to maybe doing UX, UI and web design work, I would probably have concentrated more on the website design than I would have perhaps the logo. Branding isn't really something that interested me that much when I was studying it in uni, so therefore I didn't really put that much emphasis on trying to learn it. You really need to think about what you want to do in the future. If you want to be working in a studio that specializes in brand identity, brand strategy, then fair enough, concentrate on branding. If you don't want to do that, then don't bother producing work that's going to go in your portfolio that shows that. So whatever it is that you want to do in the future, that is what your portfolio should show. And I think that a lot of people will see this coming towards the second and third years, is that their portfolio will start to take shape and they'll maybe start to understand the type of areas of design that they want to work in. So for me personally, I was quite aware that working in 3D, installation-based, interactive areas was what I really liked doing. I don't really enjoy sitting in front of a computer all day at a desk and working on a software. I'd much rather get my hands dirty and actually be making things with my hands. And I quickly become aware of this, and as such, pretty much most of my portfolio is 3D installation based stuff. This does come at a cost, and that is that your job opportunities are a lot less. So it's just something you need to be aware of. Obviously, if you concentrate on one area of design that you want to show in your portfolio, when you're applying for jobs, and let's say a studio wants a general designer, they want you to be good at typography, logo design, web design, and everything else that they ask for, your portfolio isn't really going to kind of show that variety. And again, I don't think that's a problem, because it's not in your portfolio because you don't want it to be there. So why would you want to work in a job doing those kind of things? You have to really think about what it is that you want to do, and then you need to be showing that in your portfolio. So I think that you should put, your portfolio above all else. Many employees do not really care what grade you got. It's your portfolio that does the talking. It's your work that does the talking. A 2.1, a 2.2 at first, it really means nothing unless your work that is in front of that employer then and there communicates something and connects with them and shows that, you have a passion, you have a talent, you are creative, that those are the kind of things that a potential employer wants to see. Also, going back to kind of traditional school, we're often taught to follow the rules. There's one way of doing things, the teachers are right. When you come to university, they really do like autonomy and, thinking for yourself. And you should really see the briefs as a very loose framework of, just simply a pathway to guide you down. There are many ways that you can tackle the briefs, and you should hopefully see that from your first few projects at university. You hopefully see the wide range of outcomes that students produce. It's one of the best things about university and studying design is just the simple fact that you are surrounded by, sometimes hundreds of other students. Every single other student's project is different from yours, and it really does give you ideas of how you could maybe tackle future projects. So that is a really good thing. And also remember that teachers, to some degree, they do want you to push back. They do want you to break the rules, to question the brief and to question the outcome. I wouldn't really be afraid of pushing back against a teacher's suggestions if you feel that it's going to benefit you and your portfolio and your self-development. You know better than anyone else what it is that you want to do. A teacher will guide you and they will help you along the way, but their opinion isn't final. It's just a singular opinion. You may find another teacher who really likes your idea. And that is something that I come across, when I was doing my projects. A lot of my outcomes were very experimental and they really weren't kind of traditional graphic design. And if I went to a tutor who maybe didn't really understand kind of these more experimental pathways of doing things, then they would push back a little bit more, whereas the people who are maybe working in the areas that I want to work in, they'd be really excited to see where I could go with it and what I could do with it. And it really is just about finding a balance between those mixture of opinions and, not getting too disgruntled or, too put off when a tutor says, this isn't working, etc. Go back and revisit it. If you strongly feel something and you feel that it's really going to benefit you in your portfolio, then I would always recommend going down that route. So yeah, you should really see university as just a time to experiment and be as creative as possible and to really push, what you know in design as far as possible. If a brief is telling you to do X, Y, and Z and you feel that that's boring and you're not really going to learn from it, then see if you can push it in another direction. So for instance, a good example of this was my second year project, the last project in our second year. We had to hack a certain system that we chose. A lot of people did the very kind of traditional graphic design routes. They produced a website that kind of emphasized their point, or they made a booklet or something like that. I ended up making a giant 50 kilogram paperweight installation that was my kind of intervention with this system. It was completely, not really your typical graphic design outcome, but it was different. It really taught me a lot. And it really helped me kind of see how you can really kind of experiment with briefs, and ultimately you can do what you want. You do need to be a bit selfish when you are studying design. I think that I say that because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be paying all of this money to go to university. And at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to have to come out the other side and try and find a job that gives you some sort of satisfaction. Now, if you've got a teacher telling you that, learning Photoshop is the only thing that you should be doing, or that creating logos is the only thing that you'll be doing, then when you come out of university, that's really all you're going to be prepared for. So, if a teacher has a certain kind of outlook on design, it's not necessarily the only way to be. And that is what I really did like about LCC, is that we did have access to so many different teachers who specialize in so many different areas of design. It really did help give kind of, lots of perspectives on how to tackle a brief and how to approach, design thinking. I would really like to know what you think of this discussion, whether you think that maybe playing the safe route and, keeping to the briefs, producing work to the grades, and maybe doing work in a more traditional graphic design sense in the aim to be more job secure, is the way to go, you feel that that's been successful for you, or if you're maybe the other way where you've produced stuff purely for your portfolio, you was kind of selfish in what you wanted to do and you really created stuff that you liked, but maybe that has kind of restricted you in the job market. You don't really feel that you've got the necessary portfolio pieces to access certain jobs. And I know from personal experience, just literally graduating, I know that my portfolio is not aimed at a traditional design studio. When I'm looking at jobs right now and I see that they want branding, web design skills, I don't know, typography or whatever it is, my portfolio doesn't really show that. My portfolio shows a lot more kind of 3D installation art stuff maybe. I haven't got a problem with that. That is the area that I want to work in. If I was desperate to get a job, then I would probably be thinking maybe twice as to whether I should have done maybe some more branding projects while I was at uni, or maybe I should have done a web design project or something like that. So it'd be really interesting to know your thoughts. That is all I've got to say. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe, and I'll end it there.